What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's central and local governments are at an impasse. The cabinet says that it's cutting funding for local governments, a move it insists it must make in the face of legislative budget cuts. Taiwan's premier has floated a workaround to make up the funding, but it's not going over well with the opposition. Leslie Liao has more.
A special budget. That's what Taiwan's cabinet is proposing to get around a 25% cut to central government subsidies to local governments. The cabinet is being forced to cut $2.1 billion from its budget this year. The opposition-held legislature stipulated the cuts in its 2025 general budget. Ruling Democratic Progressive Party officials say it had no choice but to cut local government subsidies in response.
当大院通过了三读预算的时候，我们第一时间就表达说会有窒碍难行之处，尤其这个636亿，因为过去没有这么大额的要自行删减。
The main opposition Kuomintang holds a majority of local government seats. And news of the cuts has gone over with local governments as well as one might expect.
针对所有对中央这样不法的行为、违法违宪的行为，我们要提出我们的抗议。
It's not just KMT local leaders who feel the pinch, though.
也当讲被耗不把晒在这些南部的县市可以说是相对来讲比较严重。我觉得这样对高雄市民不公平。
Taiwan's premier Zhuo Rongtai is now floating a special $2.1 billion special budget to bridge the gap in local government funding.
如果行政提出一个针对636亿的追加预算，立法院能够同意，那就是一个解决的方法。
A special budget would fall outside of the country's general budget, meaning it would be a separate spending bill, not subject to the cabinet's cuts. Such a plan would require legislative approval, and the smaller opposition Taiwan People's Party, which holds the legislature in conjunction with the KMT, says it will not support such a plan.
竟然提出来说要用追加预算的这条路来讲是走不通的，请回到政府来，好好去检讨到底有哪些的不当预算实施。
With the legislature firmly held by the opposition, any cabinet proposal needs to win the approval of policymakers from across the aisle. And it seems this time the opposition is telling the DPP to go back to the drawing board. Klein Wang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
China's foreign ministry says Beijing resolutely opposes U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. That's after officials in Washington told news agency Reuters of plans to ramp up arms sales to Taiwan, potentially surpassing U.S. President Donald Trump's first-term levels. Two officials say weapons sales to Taiwan under a second Trump administration could easily exceed the $18.3 billion approved during his first term. They're also urging Taiwan's opposition not to block defense budget hikes as the country aims to boost military spending to 3% of GDP. New arms packages are expected to focus on missiles, drones, and munitions meant to counter China's growing military pressure. An unmanned boat drone has been found after going missing for several days. The vessel, developed by Taiwan's Thunder Tiger technology, lost contact on May 27th during a test of its stealth capabilities off the coast of Hualien in eastern Taiwan. It was spotted off the country's northern coast on Friday. Some people had mistakenly believed the vessel was intended for military use as it closely resembles the company's Sea Shark 800 drone, which can carry explosives. The sentence has been increased for a construction contractor convicted over a deadly 2021 train crash in eastern Taiwan. During his first trial in November 2022, Li Yixiang was found guilty of manslaughter and bid rigging and sentenced to nearly 8 years in prison. The latest ruling adds a hit-and-run charge to his conviction, bringing his sentence to 12.5 years. Li had been operating a crane truck next to Taiwan's eastern rail line in April 2021 when he lost control of the vehicle. It fell onto the nearby tracks and was hit by an oncoming Taroko express train, derailing it. The crash killed 49 people and injured 200 others, making it the deadliest railway accident in Taiwan's history. Taiwan is marking 80 years since U.S. warplanes tore through the skies of Taipei, carrying out the single deadliest bombing raid against the city of World War II. Bryn Thomas has more.
80 years ago, in the closing months of World War II, Zhang Jingzhao, then aged 15, was about to experience one of life's great milestones, her final day of school. But it isn't classmates or diplomas she remembers most vividly. The May 31st, 1945 air raid on Taipei was the worst to hit Taiwan during the war. The island, then a colony of the Japanese Empire, was a key strategic hub in Japan's war effort.
Japan had occupied Formosa, Korea, and part of China.
Taiwan plays a fundamental role in both trade, and due to its kind of maritime crossroads as one approaches Southeast Asia, of course, and it also plays an important military hub as the war expands from the late 1930s, but then really with the Pacific War in the early 1940s, because the majority of many ships will travel through that area.
The Allied air forces began bombing Taiwan in earnest in 1943, but early raids were sporadic, mostly carried out by smaller carrier-based planes with light payloads targeting industrial areas. Zhang Jingzhao could see and hear them from as far away as Xindian in what is now New Taipei.
They were hitting hard all over the map, all around the clock.
Lin Wenming was in Wanli in what is now New Taipei when it was attacked as part of U.S. bombings targeting the key port of nearby Geelong. In May 1945, with Germany defeated, the U.S. turned its full might towards the Empire of Japan. On the final day of May, 117 heavier B-24 bombers left the recently liberated Philippines bound for Taipei, where they met almost no resistance. The bombings continued until about 1 in the afternoon, killing an estimated 3,000 people in just 3 hours. Around 3,000 bombs ravaged Taipei's central government district. Strategic sites like Taipei Main Station were hit, along with landmarks such as parks, what is now the presidential office, and Longshan Temple. The bombings brought the city to a standstill, driving home the fact that by May of 1945, the tide of war had turned firmly against the Japanese Empire.
Taiwan certainly felt the effects of the war. There was significant Allied bombing at various points in the war on Taipei and other cities, which essentially were considered to be under Japanese occupation, or at least part of the Japanese Empire.
Sources differ, but around 5,000 civilians in Taiwan were killed in air raids during World War II, most of them on May 31st. 80 years later, the raid is only vaguely remembered, suppressed by Cold War narratives and overshadowed by far deadlier attacks elsewhere around the same time. Zhang Jinzhao still lives in Xindian in a small home surrounded by her children and grandchildren. Lin Wenming spent his life painting before retiring to Hualien. Their lives have spanned empires, republics, and generations, but the bombing of Taipei is something that they'll never forget. Ryan Wu, Ed Moon, Jeffrey Chen, and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Ahead of the Dragon Boat Festival on Saturday, hundreds of teams are participating in a large-scale dragon boat racing event in Taipei, part of the holiday festivities across the country. Cadence Coranta reports.
Here at one of Taipei's scenic riverside parks, an important centuries-old tradition is underway. The dragon boat races going on behind me are just part of the festivities that are going on all across Taiwan ahead of tomorrow's Dragon Boat Festival, an important holiday not just here in Taiwan, but in a lot of countries across Asia. The festival commemorates the life of Qu Yuan, a Chinese poet and politician who, legend has it, drowned himself in a river during China's Warring States period thousands of years ago, when his state was surrendered to its rivals. There are several explanations of what came next, but one is that after his death, villagers paddled along the river to try to find his body and threw rice dumplings into the water to prevent fish from eating him, which some say is where dragon boat racing comes from. Today, the sport involves teams of paddlers in narrow boats racing various distances, and a drummer helping to keep them on pace. Happening here is an international event with over 200 teams taking part. The races will take place all day Friday and will continue throughout the weekend, with finals set for Sunday. Some teams here are organized by businesses or universities. Others are formal dragon boat racing clubs. This team is made up of employees of a company that sells kitchen appliances. They've been coming to race here for 4 years, and their general manager says dragon boat racing is good for team building.
我们一辈子大概很少有机会可以划龙舟，这对每个人是一个记录，也是一个纪念。那第二个是说，我们平常很多没有在一起工作的同事，可以借由这一艘船，让我们坐在船上，大家一起努力。
Others have come for the same reason, saying it's a good way for people to come together. This team was last year's winner in the small boat division and have confidence that they will do well this year, too.
我们其实准备很久了，我们今年的目标是冠军啊，我们觉得我们一定会。
And it's not just Taiwanese here. This team came from Okinawa, close to a U.S. military base. Many of its members are part of the U.S. military, Navy, or are contractors.
We have a dragon boat team in Okinawa, Japan, and we race locally there a lot. So when we heard about the big international race here, we wanted to, travel and see how it works here, because we are in Japan. It's a little bit different. It's Sabanis, wooden boats. So the boats here are very different than what we're used to paddling in.
Those who have come out to watch the races say they just want to take in the competitiveness and fun of it all.
因为儿子说他想要去看划龙舟，他在上幼儿园的时候，老师说，周末如果有空的话，你们可以去看划龙舟哦，对不对？
其实我每年都会来，我自己本身是选手，只是刚好这几年没有划龙舟，然后帮自己的队加油这样子，很兴奋啊，就觉得说，就是还想要帮忙一起比赛。
The Dragon Boat Festival is also something of an unofficial start to Taiwan's summer months. And with a lot of people off work today and good weather, events like these are drawing big and enthusiastic crowds. Eason Chen and Cadence Coranta for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at the Prayer for Rain ceremony performed by indigenous people in Guatemala. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.